Hello and welcome to this edition of Your Health, Your Wealth. I'm your host, Eddie Patton, and happy to be here today. And I have a very special guest here that's going to talk about her industry, fellow physician in her field of plastic surgery and head and neck surgery. So really excited to dive into this, to debunk some of the myths that are associated with this. So very happy to have my guest today, Dr. Angela Sturm.
Very good.
We're laughing because before starting, we were discussing the right pronunciations. I'll just leave it at that.
You'll never get it wrong.
Yeah, I will never get it wrong again. So Dr. Sturm, a little bit about her. She completed her medical school at Bellaire College of Medicine. And when I looked at your bio, I mean, just numerous awards. Congratulations on a very illustrious career. And 40 Under 40 awards, Top Doc awards. I mean, the list goes on. And you also have your own podcast as well, Beauty Unveiled. And hopefully we'll hear a little bit more about that later on as well. But let's just get right into things. Tell me a little bit more about what got you interested in plastic surgery and facial surgery.
So I went into medical school thinking it was going to be ER because it dates me, but that was the show that was popular whenever I was getting into medicine. And I quickly realized that was really just not my speed. I wanted to stay with the patient, start to finish, be able to manage everything. And I thought it was going to be OB-GYN because you had clinic and you had OR, and I liked having the balance of both, and you're there for special parts of people's lives. And then I did a rotation where I watched them do a microtia repair and take a rib and carve it into an ear. And I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Oh my gosh, you made an ear. How was your day, honey? I made an ear. That's awesome. So I really got more interested in it. And I was like, this is great. I get to have clinic. I get to, have OR. I get to really get to know people. I had talked to them a lot about who they are and the social parts of that and how they present in the world and how they feel about themselves, and a lot of really deep things of your features in context of your gender and your ethnicity and just who you are. And I just fell in love with all of it, of getting to know people on this really, really deep level that, I wouldn't get to otherwise. So.
Yeah, you touched on a couple of good points. And when people think about plastic surgery, they automatically go to the cosmetic, the breast augmentation, the nose job, because maybe you want to just have those type of things. But what we don't think enough about is the fact that you really do life-saving work, and there's life-saving work in this field, and even from a psychological aspect to some of these patients, if you have something on your face or keloids or something that you want removed, I don't think that gets enough credit, and people automatically jump to that cosmetic type of only for the vein.
Right. They automatically think, oh, this is superficial. You're doing things just because, you always want to be perfect. And that is really not my patients. Like you said, we do trauma. So people that have had cancer, had gunshot wounds, had, like you said, keloids, different things that affect the way that their face looks, to be able to put them back together so they can look in the mirror and see themselves. And it's, that's a huge deal to be able to see yourself in the mirror, whether it's that or along the lines of the little more superficial, but a facelift where they don't see themselves anymore. And then you're like, oh, there I am. I feel much more confident. And so that doesn't save someone's life, but there are things like the cancer, it's a little controversial, but gender affirming surgery, I've helped people that have been assaulted and they just wanted to not have that happen again, and so perspectives that maybe not everybody realizes, how common those things happen if you can just help someone be able to just live their life and not have to worry about, that sort of a negative impact.
Yeah, and I do a lot of talks through this podcast about the healthcare system and the fragmentation of it and so forth. You've been on both sides where you've had a practice where you took insurance and now understand that you don't. in a field like yours where there is a lot of elective procedures, how does that work?
So there are some that are covered by insurance, like some of the ones we were talking about, like traumas and cancers, obviously that's covered by insurance. Things that help your function, like septoplasty and turbinate reduction, people will get that and get that covered. Obviously not the rhinoplasty, but they'll get the functional part. And sometimes that's a way for someone to be able to breathe better and then also, have that opportunity to look better and be a little bit more confident, at the same time. And it's an open dialogue and an open conversation. Like everyone has to talk about it to a certain degree, probably more than we would like with our patients about what's covered and what's not covered and, what's available, and I would have to have sort of very blunt conversations with people who are like, oh, can't you just get that covered and this and that? And you're like, well, okay, here's the codes and here's what's covered. This is what your plan covers. I didn't make the plan. Yeah. You signed up for the plan. This is what I can tell you. You are their customer, not me. So you actually have more pull with them than I do. So if, I'm just the messenger.
Absolutely.
So this is something to take up with them. These are the rules that I've been given, and so I've had to have, really specific conversations with them about this is what we can get covered and this is what is not covered. And if you want to do it or not, that's your decision. And being able to, which is not always comfortable. And it wasn't for me in the beginning with physicians to talk about money with people, because forever, all in training, it's like, oh, don't talk about the money, but it is, it's part of it,
It's part of it. You have to.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for people to understand the point that you made is that when you get to those open enrollment periods where you're picking your plan or figuring out what type of health insurance you want based on your economic position, you have to think about those things. And you may be able to cut costs on one side, lower premiums per month, but then are you going to get those services if you are thinking about doing some of those procedures and surgeries?
And I don't know if people always understand exactly what all the terms are, because then they'll come and be like, you mean I have a $10,000 deductible? And I'm like, it says so right here.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is for if bad things happen. Yeah. This is not,
And that has to be paid first.
Yeah, all this has to be paid first. And so that's a conversation in my clinic now is, okay, well, here are my cash prices for this, if you want a septoplasty or turbinate reduction, and then here's your plan. And, do what is right for you, because people say, I want insurance to cover it. And I'm like, you'd actually pay more with your insurance than my cash price, Wow. And so I've had some people that, even though they had insurance, they didn't use it because it was just cheaper to do the cash prices for things, which hopefully medicine kind of swings back that direction where we realize our relationship was better.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah.
A lot of these procedures, as you mentioned, they're paying cash or they're elective procedures. So are there any issues regarding pharmaceutical costs and those type of things? Like do patients have to pay high out-of-pocket costs for their medications?
Usually it's covered.
Okay.
Like that hasn't been an issue. The only issue is, if you have any complications afterwards, which is not very often, but if that happens, then that's a problem because they don't want to cover what becomes a medical issue. I have a problem with that because, okay, so you chose to have an elective procedure, that's fine, but medical things do happen. We are still doctors, there are still things that can happen, and then if you have to have a visit to the ER or whatever happens, then they're stuck with this gigantic bill they didn't sign up for. But things happen, and so that has been more of an issue of, well, what do I do with this now? And I'm like, okay, well, let's help you try to navigate that, but it's difficult. That was a medical thing. If you have a hematoma, if you have things like that, those are things that have to be taken care of. You're not going to you can't elect not to take care of that, you know?
Absolutely. And so what are some of the other conversations that you have to have with your patients that with the broad audience, you wish you could tell them beforehand when they're considering, some of these procedures?
Along the lines of the insurance is they don't cover what you think they cover, Okay. people will say, oh, well, I have a deviated septum because, see, my nose is crooked. And like, that's not exactly what that is,
Yeah.
They don't cover as much as you think they cover. I wish they did more. People will try to get eyelids covered, which sometimes you can, but a lot of times you can't, and then there's a difference between like coverage and access. So maybe it covers it, but sometimes it's hard to find people that actually do it, and some of the gender affirming things, that's the case is, you can be in network. And this is for a lot of things, like you can be a network and say it covers it, but sometimes it's hard to find a physician that does it because it'll be a 12-hour surgery and they'll give you a couple $100. And you can't keep your doors open if you do that. And so then that makes it look like the physician is the one saying no, and the physician is the one is, oh, well, you just want more money, so you're going out of network. No, I want to be able to continue to practice medicine. Absolutely. And that's the only way I can do it, because I can't do a 12-hour surgery for $200. And I mean, that barely pays my staff. Probably not even
Absolutely.
that, and so it's not that we're making that decision of, oh, I want to have all this money, so I want to be able to continue to do this. I like to do this. Most of us as physicians, we love to do this. I wouldn't have trained 14 years or you however many years,
Absolutely.
to not, so I think that's one of the things that comes up that people ask me about. I'm like, well, there's reasons why people make those decisions, and there's a lot more that goes into it. Mm-hmm. I wish we weren't the ones that had to be the bearers of bad news, it's the billing department, but in the end, it's you and me that's in front of the patient that's coming to you with a problem that you say, well, I can help you, but you may not be able to afford the answer, mm-hmm. That's an awful place to have to be in, I think, I don't know how you navigate that with your patients.
Yeah, it's really difficult. And trying to get patients to understand that, one, what we bill is not what we're going to actually get back.
Right. You get the EOB. That's not what they're paying me.
That's not what they're paying me. But number two is that we're altruistic in that we're caring for people, but we're also running a business too. And we have other people's lives who are depending on us as well, meaning our staff, right. Whether it be your front office or back office staff. You have to keep your lights on. There's so many things that go into it that, to your point, if you're not getting reimbursed enough as much as you're spending, then it's not sustainable.
Right, that you're not going to be able to continue to do it. And you have to...
Then that goes back to the physician shortage. You got even more physicians. So.
I know. I was worried about that whenever I was in training. I was like, who's going to take care of me?
Yeah. And I do neurology, so I'm like, man, if I start having memory problems later in life,
I know. We don't have enough physicians, and people are not wanting to go into this. If they're looking at that, the debt that you get coming out and the reimbursements and, the smart ones are not going to go into what's going to happen.
That's why I like talking to the residents and fellows. I'm always trying to keep some young neurologists on my team.
You're like, no, it's good. Stay in touch.
Yeah, stay in touch. Let's keep in touch,
Yeah, I know.
Wow. So let's turn the table a little bit. And you are an entrepreneur as well. I know that you went through your and this was a long fellowship. I understand everything else to do what you do, but started thinking more along a business line as well. So talk to us a little bit more about that. Some of the entrepreneur things you're doing.
So from the time of interviewing and fellowship, I would see people, it's fun because you get to see a lot of different people's practice and what it looks like. And so that was the time that I was like, oh yeah, I like this. I like having like your own practice and making your own decisions and doing all these things and being able to grow and scale like what you're doing. Like that makes a lot of sense to me. And so, I took my first job and I was, I'm the excited new doctor that they're like, yeah. They're like, I've tried that, I've done that. And I'm like, no, but I want to. And they're like, I've tried it all. Like, I get it. But it's hard when it's not your ship to drive, that you're like, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I get having that experience of like, I've tried these different things and it didn't work out. I'm like, yeah, but you just keep trying, and I think that's the entrepreneur thing is you're like, okay, I'll try it again. I'll try it a different way. And I feel like it's like putting together a puzzle.
Absolutely.
And we were talking beforehand about talking to different doctors about bringing together a group. And at that time, it didn't work out because not everybody was in the same mindset. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll keep trying with different puzzle pieces. And so I told my practice I was leaving at the end of 2019.
Okay.
And I found out I was pregnant with baby number 2 shortly thereafter. And I was like, yay. Not planned, but okay.
Hey.
All right. It'll be great. And then, and then 2020. So we started and January was great. And I was like, looking at this, we're doing well. And then, COVID happened. And luckily,
COVID happened.
Yeah. Luckily, it was me and one employee. So the timing, if it was going to happen, that was not a bad timing, Mm-hmm. Only 2 people I had to worry about because, like you said, you have to worry about your staff and like their bills. And we were building out our space, so it was kind of an in-between time. So like the timing was okay. And then things just kind of organically grew where there was people that I knew from before or people that were looking for a place, to join. And so now we have 4 physicians and we all have a different specialty and it fits in really well where like I do facial plastics and then we have Dr. Hamill that does oculoplastics and Steinberg does body plastics and then Dr. Samuels does Urogyne. And so all overlap a little bit, but have our own lanes. And it's really nice to have like other colleagues there, but still like have your own business. So I don't have to ask anybody's opinion or do anything, like we share the space, but I can make the decisions I need to make without trying to like get 4 people to go in the same direction, outside of if I just painted the whole place a crazy color or something like that, they would revolt. But I feel like there's power in coming together as physicians, and as seeing how can we serve our patients. And one just went out of network, the Urogyne just went out of network with insurance, and it was really scary, like it was a scary time for her because she was like, this is the way I've always done this, and I'm going to try something new. And it was a good move for her because she was able to scale back her volume, but still have the same revenue, And so like the stress level was down, and I can definitely tell with her, like the stress level is better. It's not like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because I have to fit more people in and somehow, that's like, okay, well, I think I want to do this and now I want to market that. And, and that's same. I went through the same thing. And so it's kind of nice that we can like bounce ideas off of each other. And I was like, it's going to be okay. I promise you, it's going to be okay. It's going to be scary, but it's going to be okay. To have that person that's cheering you on and you're like, yay, you can do it, And then this way we can build on each other, and add other services to it. And it's less scary with people around cheering you on,
Yeah. And that's what we need to cheer each other on because burnout is real.
It is.
And it affects how you take care of people.
Absolutely.
And, the research has shown that physicians make more mistakes when they're burnt out and patient care suffers. So everyone has to find that balance and what works for them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think from the outside, it's hard to understand like how much of all of it emotionally affects you, having to tell someone, oh, this is the treatment, but you may not be able to afford it. Like that affects you. If you have a patient that isn't doing well, you try not to take it home, but I don't know how anybody doesn't take it home. I don't know, dealing with a system that you're just fighting every day, even on a smaller level. Like whenever I go to the hospital and it's not really set up for me, it's not set up for a plastic surgeon. It's set up for the neurosurgeon that's there all the time, like it's just a system that's not made for me. And I'm just trying to make it work. And how much mental energy that takes and you look back and you're like, why did I try to make that work so hard? I just wanted it to work. And
for your patients, probably a lot of time, you do what's best for you.
Yeah. And so all those things just weigh on you. And I think we don't even realize it sometimes, like how heavy things are. Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about, sometimes the patients are like, you okay? And you're like, yeah.
Kind of, not really.
Now that you bring it up, it has been a little tough, And especially lately, like the I feel like it's just harder and harder to be a physician in the system. And I feel like, COVID made it that much harder.
Yeah.
And just burnout with everyone that we do. And I love that your podcast is, about health and finances, because like we have to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because we can't take care of anyone else if we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah, and I can tell, and knowing your history and background, you're a very, very compassionate person. And one thing I found interesting, which I want to touch on next, is your philanthropy. I mean, you truly give back to the community, and that's kind of a hallmark of what you do. So, yeah, I mean, tell what made you fall in love with kind of philanthropy and giving back and so forth.
I think part of it is Houston's amazing. Like the people here are so great, and that was something I got involved with when I first started. It was just meeting this person and meeting that person, then, word of mouth sort of a thing of this friend, and then you meet that friend and they're involved with this, and then you get involved with that. And it's something that's helped me feel more connected to the community and feel like, they give to us and we give back, and, support each other as far as like community goes. And it does honestly kind of help with burnout, because I feel like if you feel like you're just pouring into something and you don't ever get anything back, or you don't see anything good out of it, and you're not feeding that part of you that we all, interviewing for med school, where you're like, I really want to help people. Well, we really do, but, that's the thing. If you're not feeding that person, that you lose touch, I think you lose touch with that, whatever we were at that time, I don't know, 20-something-year-old that's like, I really do want to change the world. I really do want to, help people. And, and if you're being able to see things that you're doing and giving to these organizations and then getting involved with them and like see the actual people you're helping, then you're like, yeah, I feel like she's still there, Yeah. She's still there somewhere, So even when the system gets you down and like I said, the things aren't working and you're fighting against everything, you're like, no, they're still good. They're still good in the world, and
they're still good in the world. I love that. I love that. Like you mentioned, plastics and facial plastic surgery is a very unique thing. I mean, there's not a lot of specialists that do this, not just here in the United States, but worldwide. One of the trends I've been following closely is this whole thing about medical tourism. Mm-hmm. And because there's such a need worldwide for your expertise, have you looked into that, or what are your thoughts on that? The risks, benefits?
I have looked into it. And that was right before COVID happened. Yeah. And so those plans kind of and then my contacts kind of fell off. But I was really seriously planning on going, because there are places where they need surgeons and they need people that, do what we do and are very excited and happy to have someone from the States there to be able to provide care. And, and it's mutually beneficial to be able to go and a little bit of that, giving back, there's that of like being able to reach a community that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, and financially there's benefit for us, because they're investing in that relationship. So I think there's definitely need all over the world, really, and good places you can go. And like I said, they're very appreciative of you, and it talking with them feels a little bit like that old doctor-patient relationship where you had a little bit closer, and they really looked up to you, and they, they're not coming in with the Google diagnosis that they've decided they had and what TikTok told them that they should do.
Dr. Google, yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, well, that's great, but it's not what I would do. I had someone today that was like, well, I Googled it, and I don't want that medication. I'm like, whatever, that's fine. Okay. Yeah. What do you want? As long as it's not contraindicated, okay, fine. The people that are like really happy that you're there doing what you do and doing what you love to do, and it's mutually beneficial. Because I was looking at it like, okay, so my startup costs are this, and they're gonna pay me this. I'm like, paying off the loans, this really makes a lot of sense.
But on the flip side, you do hear horror stories, because I remember one of my patients, I was commenting on her I mean, her teeth looked amazing. I mean, they were pristine. And she told me that she goes to Colombia, and there's this big, I guess, or the daughter got there. It's like, really? Yeah. And you do hear of these people who go to Mexico for some of these procedures, and unfortunately have some bad outcomes. So, do you caution patients about that, or what are you seeing in that?
Yeah, I think as far as us going there and practicing, I think that can be a good relationship. But I think there is a lot of risk for the patients just to go, because you don't really know who you're going to see, and so even if you go to the most amazing, rhinoplasty surgeon in Turkey, because they have really good ones, you go there, it's super cheap, they do a good job.
They know that in Turkey,
okay. Turkey, hair transplants and noses, they do a lot of them. And
I think I'm far beyond that, but
you got a nice shape head, you're good. Okay. So they'll go and have these procedures, and so everything goes great. Fantastic. That's great, and you probably, in most cases, spent less than you would in the U.S. However, if you have a problem, you're kind of stuck, because your surgeon is there. Nobody here is going to take on that liability, and so that's a really tough place to be. I had a patient that went to Mexico to get a facelift, and she said partway through she started bleeding too much, and he told her he had to just close it up and stop. And so she had half a part, it wasn't even half, part of a facelift done, and what should you do? And I was like, well, you're just going to have to let it heal and have a revision, I guess,
Oh, wow.
'Cause, I mean, and we've all heard all the, so much worse can happen, and so you don't know if you're going and this guy's the best of the best, or maybe he's not great. And I've heard stories of ghost surgery, almost like when we're in training. And so you go to see this surgeon, but he has 3 other surgeons that are doing surgery for him. And they're he'll pop in and just make sure everything's going okay. But he's not the actual one that's doing the surgery. But because we have no knowledge of their oversight, these things can happen. Like I said, it's all stories I've heard. But, all these things can happen. So
do your research.
Yeah, you got to do your research. You really got to look into who these surgeons are and how they're running their clinic. And the good thing with facial plastics is, like you're saying, it's a very small community. And so a lot of us know each other. So even internationally, we'll know each other. And they're little text chains that we're on. And be oh, yeah, that guy, he's really good. Or this one, maybe not so much. So... you may not have a best friend facial plastic surgeon, but you could probably ask around and you can find people, know somebody that knows somebody. But it is a small community, and I'll happily endorse somebody that I know is great. And you're oh yeah, that guy, he's really good, or if I don't know him, I'll just be honest and be I don't know. You're taking your risk, I guess.
So when if I try to do something about this bald head and get a hair transplant, I'll be sure and call you first before I.
I've seen good, and then I've seen not good. You know, where they over harvest the back, and then you can tell where the hair's gone from, and cysts and all that kind of stuff. So there's good and the bad.
I think I'm okay with the bald head.
You're good with the bald head.
When I went to my barber and I kept getting it cut shorter and shorter, he said, dude, just let me cut it off, man. He said, I think you'll be fine. Your hair looks okay.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a good shaped head, just shave it.
Yeah. I think I'm good with it. I'm okay with it.
Oh, it's better.
This has been really great. This has been a fun interview. Tell me a story of a patient maybe that you saw out, or an experience that you had that really, made you feel strong and more passionate about what you do.
There was a lady that I saw her in the ER, back when I was doing trauma and that sort of thing. And so she came in, she had a gunshot wound, and we got her stabilized, had to embolize her, all this stuff, because it was pretty significant. Got her stabilized, and then I was able to do the reconstruction, and it was everything between, ear to ear, all here, all of that was all fractured. Luckily, that's what it was. Her brain was fine. All the important things all were okay, but it was this part of her face. And so it was a really long procedure. It was really, detailed and complicated, and we were able to get everything back together. And like I was saying, get her to a point where she could look in the mirror and see herself again. And so we do all of this for her, and then she's telling us the story, and she's like, her ex was there and they were co-parenting and everybody was eating dinner together, and the girls go upstairs and he just decides to pull out a gun and then had the gunshot wound, and she's hosting him there in her house and being this kind person. She was so unkind, just out of nowhere, and just so unexpected, and this person that just never would have sought plastic surgery. I wouldn't have met her any other way, but it was really gratifying to be able to, from the beginning, be able to be part of the team that literally did save her life from the bleeding in the beginning to putting her all back together, getting her where, she could see herself, and being able to get to know that person and talk to her through the whole process of what's going on and who you are, and, be able to support her and be the rah-rah team, you got this, you're going to court, you got this, and be and have that sort of experience with someone who was so positive. There's some people in life that they're so positive, and through all of that, where she could have been negative about any and would have been justified, was just such an amazing person, and just it's such a great outlook on everything, that you feel that and you take that in, where you're that's, I love being around those people, and you kind of get some of that sunshine from them. You can, no matter what situation is, it's going to be okay, and things are going to work out the way that they're supposed to, and you can still be positive about it. And so it was just that who she was such this amazing person, and just remember those things.
Thank you for that. That's awesome. Dr. Angela Sturm. And tell us about your podcast and how people can find you.
So it's Beauty Unveiled. We talk about everything from plastic surgery to life and parenting and just juggling it all. We just talk about everything. You can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find my website, www.drangelasturm.com, or any of the socials at Dr. Angela Sturm.
Thanks so much for coming. This has been great, and hopefully we can sit down and talk some more at some point.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Excellent. And thank you all for joining for this edition of Your Health, Your Wealth. If you like this episode, please share and subscribe, and we look forward to talk with you in future episodes.